Welcome back to We Live for Saturdays. It's the postseason bowl playoff episode, joined here by Chris and McCoo, as always. How you doing, boys?
We're back, baby.
Feels good to be back. Took a week off, ready to talk some bowl season and playoffs. First year of the playoffs.
All the fans didn't miss us too much.
Too long since the last pod, but we're getting into it. I mean, we're more than halfway through December. Christmas is next week. We're flying through, and now we have the first playoff games coming up. So looking forward to it.
Who would have thought? Here we are.
100%.
Should we do a little recap, though, of the last 10 days or so, since people missed us so much?
I'd say, especially conference championship weekend was kind of crazy. A lot of fun games, and then Army Navy. I didn't watch all of it, but it was still a fun game to watch. Definitely a surprising result, I would say. So,
I have never once gotten Army Navy bet correct. Every year, whatever I take, just go
take
the opposite.
The under, even though did the under
this
hit
was the
this
first
year?
time it went over, and I didn't touch the total because I always mess that up. But I was like, you know what, Army's clearly the better team this year, and nope, not the case.
Yeah, I was all over Army, and of course, so just need to go like the opposite.
One of the best rivalries in sport. They always deliver a good game.
Well, conference championship wise, speaking of Army, they put the whooping on Tulane. They had the home field advantage. That was definitely fun to watch.
That's the way I thought they would crush Navy, and they just laid an egg.
Right, exactly.
Who would have thought there would be a letdown spot for your biggest rival? You know,
I
mean, right? The whooping was put, to Tulane. I mean, that was, what was it, 35-14?
Yep.
Summerall, it looks like he's staying, though. It looks like he's staying.
One of my favorite clips, though, he's like, hey, he's talking to all the reporters. He's like, hey, if another newspaper comes around and offers to triple your salary, I don't think anybody's going to badger you over trying to leave for a new gig. But in that statement, he was pretty much saying, I'm committed to Tulane as long as they pay me and I don't get a crazy offer elsewhere.
And fun fact, Tulane's quarterback next year is now TJ Finley from the portal. So that'll be that'll be entertaining.
5 straight different teams.
Yep, 5 different teams. Is this his 6th year or 5th year?
I think it'll be his 5th.
Yeah.
He's a road to glory guy. He's like, oh, I'm going there now.
Yep. Hey, the portal's there. You might as well use it.
Exactly. Well, Mountain West, I think that was the same night. There were 2 games on that Friday night, I believe it was, and Genty and Co. Got the job done, 21-7. Another 200-yard game. UNLV kind of just didn't really show up. It was they were kind of acting like it was cold, which it was, but it was only like 30, and they're acting like it was like 0. But
the dome, I guess.
So. But so Boise got their bye, got their conference champion. They're ready to go.
I'm a little more I don't want to say optimistic because right now Penn State's path goes right up against Boise if we get past first round. Knock on wood, but their defense looks pretty legit. UNLV was pretty high flying offense all the second half of the season, and they halted them right at the time when that game was played. UNLV had still like a 10% chance of making the playoffs. So I would have expected more.
It's so easy to forget, because months ago, I think it was in September, this Boise team lost by 1 to Oregon. So everyone's like, they're the weakest, to make of the buys and stuff. No, they're very good. And it's not just Genty.
No, Madsen can sling the ball. Like, he had some great throws in that championship game, and then I mean, he dominated the job all year, and so hard that he sent Malachi Nelson into the portal again. I saw that Nelson, I think he was the number 1 quarterback coming out of high school, and he's now a 3-star transfer. So he is down in the dumps right now.
I mean, if you can't beat out Maddox Madsen at Boise State, you lose a star or 2.
Yeah.
But
Madsen.
Madsen's credit, he probably came in as a 2-star, and he would probably be a 4-star if he was transferring. So
right,
he just works the opposite way.
ACC.
Moving
on to Saturday. That was a roller coaster. Started off started off not very competitive, but then SMU showed their colors a little bit. They fought back, tie the game with 30 seconds left, and then gave up a big return and kind of lost it at the end there. But I'm glad they showed some fight. I kind of had an inkling that Clemson would or could win just based on their experience, and I think maybe the moment was just too big for SMU, maybe the first quarter, and then they sort of settled in, became who they actually are. But that was a fun game to watch. Expected a lot of points, and that's what we got. But SMU, they beat out Bama as the last at large of the playoff.
If they
As
didn't
they should.
but if they didn't come back and make that competitive, it could have been interesting.
Oh,
It could have been interesting.
They might not have gotten in if they did. So I'm glad that that's sort of like
Worked
nipped
itself out.
any conversation of that. Big 12. This one was kind of surprising.
This was stunning. I was sad for Coach Andy.
Yeah, the Fighting Andes. That third quarter was brutal. Like 2 or 3 pick sixes. It was like a 21-0 third quarter.
I think it was fumble they had.
Yeah, so they didn't. Yeah, that was a tough game. I mean, they were competitive.
45-19.
45-19. Scatabo. That was probably the funniest play that I saw that I've seen all year, where it was just a toss, and it was a blown play, 5 to 10 yard loss, and he runs 20 yards back and just chucks it out of bounds just to throw it away, and I'm just like, okay.
I didn't think you could do that. He must have. I think there must have been a guy in the area, because I did always. Every time I've seen a play like that happen, I'm like, why doesn't the running back just throw it? If they get an intent, or they can't get an intentional grounding, basically, so they have to throw to somebody in the area.
Yeah.
So credit to Scataba, though. He probably found somebody on the sideline. Was like, all right, this ain't working. And 3 touchdowns by him too. I saw he was. I think he was deserving of the 1 or 2 Heisman votes he got.
I was gonna say he got
not at all being invited to New York. He was not that dominant this year, but he. I think he got some respect on his name.
Another player that maybe had like a little coming out moment was Sam Levitt. He had a heck of a game as well. I think they play the winner of Texas and Clemson, right? They could put up a fight. I think they're a good team.
I think they should be the best bet of the entire playoffs, because they got hot at the right time. They earned their bye. They obviously won their whole conference after being picked to finish last. And yeah, everybody's kind of streaking at the right time. So, I mean, I think you can get them at like plus 10,000 or something.
Mm-hmm.
May have dropped now that the bracket's fully solidified and everything, but that's what it was like right after they won that game. So good value for the Sun Devils.
Absolutely. Well, moving into I think it was the afternoon ones, was Georgia and Texas in the SEC. That was a good one. Feel like that's kind of like how all SEC championship games go. They're always super close, slow starting. It was very low scoring, 6-3 at half.
Yeah.
Beck got hurt. That's going to be a storyline, seeing Gunnar Stockton come in and just see how he plays.
Do we know yet if Beck's going to be back?
It sounds like he's out for the first game. So that makes things very interesting. Texas could have easily won that game, missed opportunities everywhere, and then also that pick at the end of the game, the lead blocker was just celebrating. If he went ahead and blocked, it would have been a pick 6 and game over. So missed opportunity. They probably feel a little bit bummed to be in the 5 spot. I think they had the better season than Georgia did, so kind of a disappointing end, I would say.
It's one of those things, in my opinion. We've said it all year. Georgia has the higher ceiling than Texas, and at least in my opinion. You look at their schedule, Texas, the only team that I would say was worth anything outside of Georgia, and obviously they lost to Georgia twice this year. They beat Texas A&M, and then they played Kentucky, Arkansas, Vandy, Mississippi State, Oklahoma. They had a very weak SEC schedule. So I'm kind of curious, and they beat Michigan, but we know Michigan was kind of down. I don't know. It's not surprising. They did obviously give a much better effort in this game. It'll be interesting to see how that game with Clemson goes.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait. And then the last one to recap, sadly.
What a barn burner.
It was a battle. I think that one felt, I think probably because it was conference championship naturally, but like from a
And
Penn
for the
State
listeners,
perspective,
we're talking Oregon, Penn State.
for
Yes.
for just from like a Penn State perspective, that felt like the most nationally like visible game in a very long while. Like people watch our Penn State Ohio State games and all that stuff during the year, but like this got everyone's attention, and I think at least that's just what it seemed from like social media and stuff. And I think we definitely were very respectable. We could have won the game. I feel like we're in a good spot going into to the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, I think we certainly proved that we belong in the playoff. Obviously, if things got carried away, because we were down like 28-10, early in the second quarter or something like that. They dominated in the first quarter. But that's what we just needed to do, is show that we kind of belonged on that stage, even though we got in by a fluke. But now we belong in the playoff, because, again, if you can go toe-to-toe with the number one team in the country, I think you definitely have a spot waiting for you. And again, if they had won 45-10, I wouldn't have been surprised if a lot of people were like, "Get Penn State out of here. They're not good enough." But no, Aller was slinging it. He had a couple mistakes, obviously, which was pretty much the difference in the game. But the team was kind of coming together around him. The running game looked good. Receivers actually stepped up. Trey Wallace, obviously Tyler Warren, everybody knows about. Omari Evans, I think, had a long touchdown. So it's I'm more optimistic than I should be after a loss on that big stage.
Yeah.
You know who else went toe-to-toe? And Oregon keeps just getting me all year. Remember week 1? They beat Idaho by 10. That's it.
What was that about?
I don't know. I'm still tilted on that.
That must have been the most because you lost a parlay or something, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I realized I picked 7 out of 8 teams for a parlay to make the playoff. If Ole Miss had just beaten Florida, they probably would have been a shoo-in, and I would have won like $1,800 off of like 10.
Of
so
course.
thanks very much, Jackson Dart and Lane Kiffin.
Lane Kiffin.
Yep. But everybody else, I had Notre Dame, Penn State, Clemson, Texas, Ohio State, Georgia, and Ole Miss. But anyway, now should we get to the actual the game's TBD?
You have thoughts on the Heisman really quick?
Travis Hunter, very deserving.
Travis Hunter, obviously, it was a 2-person race. I mean,
I think both guys
know.
had every right to think they were going to win it.
Yeah.
But it's very much the most. It's one of the coolest awards that we have, but it's also the most
subjective,
headline driven and media driven. Because the second you get a buzz around you and you keep playing at a high level, like Cam Ward had a buzz going in September and early October. He should have been a shoe-in for it. I think he finished 3rd or 4th. But he had a couple games where he cooled off, or a couple losses, obviously. Travis Hunter just got the buzz, and then even when Colorado themselves didn't play good, he was scoring 2 touchdowns and getting 2 picks or something.
And I think that's probably the difference, because I was thinking to myself, early in the year, Genty was kind of a dark horse. His odds were just skyrocketing middle of the season. He never fell off, but his odds just started tanking. And I guess people just continue to be impressed with Colorado. They kept putting together a decent season. And so I guess that confidence just grew in Hunter.
And yeah, obviously Boise's the better team than Colorado, as clearly proven by where they finished the year. But I don't know. I think it was just kind of the hype of Travis Hunter's doing something we've never seen before, and also combined with Genty didn't end up breaking the rushing record. If he broke the record, people would be, going crazy for that, and probably would have won the whole thing.
Yeah, I think two-way players are so unique nowadays, and I think he's so elite on both sides of the ball, I think is what sort of was the differentiator. Plus, the record, yes and no. He had 4 more games than Sanders did to break the record too. So that's not it. I don't really know if that matters as much, but he's still a heck of a player. I love him. I think he'll be a first rounder is what I'm seeing on mocks and stuff. But
draft him, seeing has him going to the Cowboys at number 10 or 12 or wherever they end up picking.
Just all the memes and all the pictures of the Heisman pictures of all the guys in their Prada jackets and all the fancy stuff, and he's just there in team gear. I absolutely love it. So
he's a grinder,
team player.
It's going to be tough to play against him if we get past SMU.
Well,
That's a good
should we start
segue
there?
right there.
Yeah, speaking of which one do we want to kick off with?
Let's just go with our own. Let's get greedy.
Alrighty. Well,
Bum, bum, bum.
kicking off the first 4 of the playoff games this weekend. There is one on Friday. We'll get to that one, but kicking off with the Penn State SMU game. I think the line's 8 now?
8.5,
like
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it opened closer to like 12, so that's a lot of movement for SMU.
Yeah, so SMU, I think I saw that they're 6th highest scoring offense in the country, and then we are the 8th best defense in the country. Scoring defense didn't necessarily show it in the Big Ten championship, but sort of strength on strength in this game, I think, will be a fun game to watch. Home game at Happy Valley, obviously. Bummed that it is a noon game. That is a little bit disappointing, but we've been kind of screwed by the TV schedules all year. But should be a fun one. SMU's pumped to be in here. They deserve to be in here. What do we see happening? What do we think?
All right, so from my perspective, I like points. I think this is going to be high scoring. Totals I've seen 54, 55, something in that range. We just saw
54.5. Good job.
54.5. There we go. Yeah, I'm leaning the over here. I think we have a shot at covering that number, but like you said, the direction, the line moving in SMU's favor. Don't really want to mess with that. We just saw a shootout here against Oregon that was decided by 8 points. I think there's going to be some points scored here. SMU is a solid offense. We just saw them put up a lot of points in their comeback against Clemson. Nobody's really stopped. I don't see their defense really stopping our offense, so I think there's going to be points here.
Yeah, I agree. I think the points is very smart. But yeah, kind of to the point that we were talking about with their game against Clemson. That's why I'm most nervous about the game. Again, it's a playoff game. Got to have some nerves anyway, but luckily we get the home field advantage, hopefully. But just the fact that they, got kind of punched in the face very quick by Clemson, and then we're down 17 in the fourth quarter and crawled all the way back. Didn't give up ever, didn't just roll over and die. They kind of said, they got the offense, they got the ability to put up the points. So
the horses, if you will.
There you go. They got the ponies. But they're a very, very good offensive team. I don't really believe in their defense as much, so that's why the spread is where it is, and why, again, I think our offense was performing at a very high level for the last few weeks of the season and going in against Oregon even. So I think we'll have a similar, probably like 35 to 38 points. The hope is that if we can keep them under 30. So I wouldn't fault anybody for taking SMU plus 8.5. I think that's a nice little buffer over the touchdown number, but I think the right move is taking that for over 54.
Yeah, I'm loving the points as well. I was disappointed with how our defense played. Granted, it's the number 1 team in the country, and it's a very efficient offense in Oregon, so it's take that as you will. But we have to force turnovers, I think, is going to be the difference. Maybe not the difference, but I think that's what wins us the game here. Kevin Jennings, definitely a very strong quarterback on their end. They definitely have some playmakers on the offensive side. I don't see a way that we don't score over 31, 35 points. I really don't see that not happening. It's just a matter if we can slow them down. So I think we win the game. I don't know if we cover. I can see us winning by a touchdown, but 8.5 is a little high. But I like the points. Just same thought process as you guys.
And quick little tidbit here. First time obviously Penn State doesn't play SMU all that much, so a little bit of history. First time we've played them since 1948 in the Cotton Bowl, and that's, for those that don't know, that's where the term "We Are Penn State" came from. That game. So
was that against SMU? Wow.
It was against SMU in the Cotton Bowl, and that's the game where the first integrated college football game in the South. They originally weren't going to let the African American players on Penn State play, and they said, we are Penn State, all of us, not just some of us. So that's where sort of that term came from, and started against SMU in the Cotton Bowl. Thought that was pretty cool
Okay.
bit of history.
If you asked me that, I would have said it was against Texas, but that's good to know. I didn't know that. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I would have guessed like a Bama or Georgia, but yeah, definitely knew it was something to do with the integrated team and going down south, obviously. So let's get some. Did we win that game in 47 or 48, whenever it was?
Oh, I should have looked at that actually.
I don't see how we wouldn't. I mean,
right.
just tons of
We got
motivation.
shellacked like 67-5. They'd be like, let's forget about that whole integration thing.
Let's see.
Oh my god.
Well, no, I don't mean kick the team away.
Yeah.
Like, they wouldn't still be telling the story. So
All
I'm
right.
sure we pulled off the win.
We'll go to Classic Winsipedia.
Is that a site?
Yeah. So here. Here. Let me share
you're
it.
on the. Here you go. I'll find it. Darn it! I should have had this pulled up.
This site, you can just put in 2 teams, and it pulls up every like historic matchup that they've ever played.
There you go.
So we've won 1, and there's been 1 tie, so we had to have won. But it shows all-time win record, national champions. They have 3 national championships. We have 2.
We tied 13-13.
We tied that game.
Oh,
we
so that was a tie. Yeah, because in '78 we won by 5.
Yeah, so that was a tie in the Cotton Bowl. Wow. All right.
Man,
I'd be so bummed about a tie after all that.
After all that, well.
what's
All right.
what's a super classic? What's a long-standing one? I guess I can do Army Navy.
I was gonna say, there you go.
I'm curious.
Georgia Tech versus Cumberland.
1-0.
Yeah, so 62 to 55.
7 ties.
And 7 ties, and then it shows each year how many times they won. So Navy, that's when Navy dominated for 15 years, right there.
Yeah,
14. I was just about to say,
that's
I
cool.
believe they had a very long win streak.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
great. I love it.
Free ads.
There you go.
All right, next one. Do we want to go back to Friday? We can talk about the Battle of Indiana.
Do that right side of the bracket.
Yeah.
Cool. This was the one that I got the most excited about, I guess, when they announced the bracket, just because it's an in-state rivalry, in-state battle. This will have a lot of excitement or just around Indiana, but not let alone see how Indiana fares, sort of proving themselves in the playoff here. But I didn't look at the spread. What is it? I think it's
Notre Dame by 7. Over under 52.5.
Okay, thank you. So Kurt Signetti, he came out saying we're ready to win it all. So do we think that they not necessarily win it all, but do they win this one?
I mean, we never accused him of lacking confidence, that's for sure.
True.
So I don't know. I think they can keep it close. I think my lean is on the under. But obviously that sort of plays into who controls the game. Notre Dame wants to keep it slow, keep it lower scoring. It's obviously a help that it's at Notre Dame. I don't know if I'm going to really put a formal pick on this, but I think Indiana can keep it close. We've been doubting I've doubted Notre Dame a few times this year, and they just keep churning through people. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep pace, because we saw them keep pace with Ohio State. If it wasn't for a few special teams plays, it would have been a lot closer. So I don't know. I think they could keep it close. It'll be interesting. I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty much right there with you. I think Notre Dame just has the night game, the atmosphere, and then also
True.
just kind of the where I guess it's more for Indiana's kind of motivation, but I believe that they are looking at themselves, presumably so, as the little brother of the state of Indiana. They're always, kind of looking up at Notre Dame, both, on the field and then geographically speaking as well. But they are I think they're going to use that to their advantage and kind of get, really amped up more so than, the average team would in a playoff atmosphere. And Cignetti's going to be good for that. I think they keep it within the 7. I think Notre Dame ends up winning though. So I think they just have they're going to have the crowd. They're going to have the atmosphere. I think they're definitely a stronger team on paper. I think Indiana's the plucky underdog that everybody likes to cheer for. But yeah, I see it being like a 3 or 4 point game with Notre Dame maybe scoring late to take the lead, or it being tied all game and them scoring, at the very last minute. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be kind of rooting for Indiana. I don't want to, have to match up against them at any point, because then I'll start to hate them real bad. But it'll be fun to see that rivalry.
Yeah, I think the pick I feel most confident in is just Notre Dame winning. I think, to Chris's point, like the over/under can kind of go either way depending on how the flow of the game goes.
Right.
Notre Dame, I did see that there's talk of them wearing black uniforms this weekend, so that
they roll
seems
out some of the silliest uniforms at the dumbest. They have one of the most classic uniform schemes ever. And they always do like some sort of weird fancy. Like I hated their ones for the Army game at Yankee Stadium. Like just wear your regular jerseys.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that'll be a little vibe changer, but I don't know. I think since I'm leaning money line for Notre Dame, I might just parlay that with Penn State and then just have that be either like even or plus or whatever the money is. But I think that ends up probably being the safest bet. But you never know. I think Indiana can definitely surprise some people.
Yeah, should 100%. Be a good one.
I'm excited for that one. I like that they gave them, again, I hate our scheduling with the noon kickoff the next day, but I like that that's the standalone, like this is the start of the playoff.
Yeah.
Kind of the underdog team that nobody saw coming versus like a, classic American brand in the country.
Yeah.
All right, we can move on to... Let's go Clemson and Texas.
At Texas.
It's about 11 and a half.
Teams.
Yeah, Battle of the Oranges.
Are they the same palette of orange, or are they slightly different?
No, it's burnt orange.
Yeah.
Versus like
orange.
Untoasted orange, yeah.
Untoasted.
Raw orange.
Raw orange.
Yeah. 12 point favorites is Texas, somewhere around there, and then 51.5. So around the same scoring for those. Here, Clemson, I mean, they're in here. You can see here on the screen, they're 16th ranked in the country. Like the only reason they're in, obviously, and we all know it, is just from beating SMU in the championship. But Texas could easily be the 1 seed, 2 seed in this tournament as well. But this one, I don't know. I have a little inkling, but I won't say it until y'all sort of share your thoughts. But what do you guys think here? Does Dabo have a chance?
I think that's way too many points to give a former championship head coach in Dabo. I know we like to make fun of him, and he is like the most, punchable face in all of college coaching, but he is very good for a reason, and Clemson's very good for a reason. They had a couple trip ups along the way this year, but I think they're still a strong team. They took down SMU. It was close, but if this was like a 3 or 4 point spread, I'd say hammer Texas, but you're getting double digits with Clemson. I don't care where it is. I think that's just too many to not take.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think. And where is this game? Let me see
Austin.
Here.
Yeah. Oh, duh. So yeah, the Bulls don't start till the next round. Sorry. Yeah. So this, I mean, yeah, I'm still thinking that way. I think this isn't. I just don't see Texas hammering someone, especially a good team like this. I don't see them hammering somebody. And, Dabo's changing his ways. They just got their first transfer from the portal. Southeast Missouri State transfer. So maybe it's just a new Dabo. I'm kind of leaning that as well.
That's the most, where'd you say that the transfer's coming from?
Southeast Missouri State.
That's the most, I'm going to dip my toe in the water and see if this is going to, burn my skin off, because he's like, I'm not going to go for, an Alabama or an Ohio State guy. I'm going to go, Who are we not paying at? Southeast Missouri State. Anybody want to come over to Clemson?
Yeah, they're like,
I just
okay.
picture the AD who's like, Dabo, pull yourself together.
He probably looks at it as a sin and stealing from the less fortunate.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I feel so evil for advancing the opportunities of the. I don't know, but good for them. They're getting modern now, just in time.
Well, I'm glad that y'all kind of are on the same side as I am. I'm going to say I think Clemson can win this game. I think that's going to be my call out here. Quinn Ewers really hasn't impressed the past couple weeks. They should just play Arch Manning. He's much more effective on the ground and even through the air at some points as well. But
He'll be playing for Belichick next year. So.
One of them will, yeah. So, yeah, I think Klubnik has been very quietly great, at least the latter half of the year, outside of a couple of those games where he had some mistakes. But I think the Clemson defense can force some turnovers, force some pressure, and then they can really compete in the trenches as well. Texas is one of the bigger teams in the front seven on both sides of the ball, but I think Clemson can stick right there with them. So, I don't know. I think with Phil Maffa, Cade Klubnik, I think that they can.
You love Maffa.
I love Phil Maffa. I think he can give
That's
them
a
to
great
him
name.
30 times. Just feed him, and I think they can wear him down. And
Who do you like more, Phil Maffa or Joel Klatt?
Joel Klatt all day.
There's a hypothetical that's never been asked before. Who do you like more, Phil Maffa or Joel Klatt?
Sam loves Joel Klatt.
You know what? I'm looking at all the numbers here in the background. I'm loving the under. I feel like that's
it's 51 or something, right?
51.5. And Texas's defense, aside from the Georgia games, hasn't given up more than like 17 points pretty much all year long.
I like that a lot.
They gave up 24 to Vandy, but Vandy was riding high at the time. But they've played some good teams, and when their defense is dominating, I feel like their offense, for some reason, doesn't get in a rhythm, like the 20-10 game versus Arkansas, 17-7 versus A&M.
I like that a lot.
I think that's just so. If they do happen to shut down Clemson, I'd say do two separate bets: take Clemson in the points, and then take the under. I don't think there's any way possible that both of those lose.
I love that pick. I like the under as well, maybe even more than the money line pick. But yeah, I like the under. I think
a little better odds.
No.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Last one here. This is going to be, I think it's projected to be the closest game. Let me look. Actually, no, I think it technically still is, but 7.5 point spread. Moving on to the Ohio State-Tennessee game. This is the one where the committee really sees them very, very equally, and they gave the slight nudge to Ohio State to give them the home game.
Yep.
I think that this will be a very entertaining game. Ohio State obviously super frustrated. The fan base, I'm sure the team is as well, after the Michigan loss, how their season has kind of ended, or not how their season has ended, the regular season. But I don't know. Tennessee kind of had some road like hiccups or bumps in the road throughout the season as well, so they're definitely battling. But what are we thinking here? This is the lowest total, though. This is 45-46 out of the 4 games.
That's interesting.
I was going to say this was my most confident under, but of course now it's lower. I didn't look, to be honest. I think this is going to be a slugfest. The offense, Nico Imaleva.
Good try, Chris.
Yeah. What is it?
I don't know.
What do you think? Maybe I got it right.
Imaleva.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm going to leave this right. Just what I think every time I see his name.
So, all right. Their offense hasn't clicked as we thought it would in the first part of the year. Ohio State's has not either. I've still got questions about Will Howard. They've got the home field advantage. However, Kirk Herbstreit's already talked about this. If they come out slow, those cheers may turn to boos quickly. So both of these teams, obviously the big pedigree, all of this, huge teams. I obviously am went to Tennessee earlier this year. We have some family there. Big Vol fan here. Obviously want them to win unless, of course, Ohio State goes the whole way for my parlay. I think it's going to be ugly, frankly. I don't see this being a high scoring game, a shootout. Like I could see that potentially happening in Clemson, Texas. Although I agree with you guys, it doesn't happen. I don't see how these teams just score at will. I just don't see that, and I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be really rowdy early on. Tennessee probably won't be able to get something going. Ohio State could struggle. Tennessee's got a talented defense. James, is it Pierce off the edge? Somebody, they're loaded on defense. I think this is low scoring.
I was gonna say,
Go Tennessee with my heart, but
what's Ohio State's injury status? Weren't they losing a couple guys on the O line, and that's why Michigan was able to slow them down so much?
I think that center is still out. I'm not sure though.
I think he's out for the year.
Right.
Yeah.
But Tennessee's D line is like the strength of their whole defensive side, so I think that's a big thing to keep an eye on. I don't know how necessarily. I don't know the X's and O's of their cornerbacks matching up to Ohio State's receivers, but I do. If this game does escalate quickly with the points, I actually would see it being more Tennessee putting it to Ohio State than the other way around. Surprisingly, I agree. It'll very likely be a lower scoring game, though. Yeah, I mean, it's just there's such a sour taste in my mouth from that Michigan loss, which again we're thankful for as Penn State fans, but that was just such a disgusting performance by a team that everybody thought was elite. I think that too many people are. I mean, they're still favored by a touchdown right now. So
yeah,
it's tough to predict fully. It's a fun one to watch. I think the atmosphere should be great. They get the night game over us, obviously. So cool, but no, I don't know. I'm gonna cheer for
real
obviously
cool.
Tennessee. Yeah, I'm gonna cheer for Tennessee. I wouldn't have a confident pick one way or the other.
Yeah, before I talk about the game, it's definitely I agree with you, Maku, as far as just cool to the timing of this game. They obviously just picked like, oh, the best game, 8 versus 9. Let's give them the night game, and then so on. I guess that's how they did
100%.
it. That's how I would think they would have done it. But
I guess the closest matchup, yeah, like you said.
yeah, but yeah, as you were talking about the defensive stats, Chris. Both of these teams have top 5 defenses on yards per rush and then yards per pass allowed as well. So they don't give up many yards whatsoever. Everyone's talking about Ryan Day. Has anyone had a worse first year than Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator? I think he should be more on the hot seat than Ryan Day should, just based on how this season has gone, because they've put millions and millions in this offense, and they're the same as Minnesota or whoever it is. So
it'll be interesting to see. If they really lay a dud, we saw Ryan Williams transfer from Alabama. Do you think Jeremiah Smith would ever leave Ohio State?
I think so. I think it's possible.
That'd be interesting.
But I'm gonna go under here as well. I would lean. I don't want to pick a side.
That's
I think I see
such a perfect line.
I see flaws on both sides, on both teams. I think both teams could score 28 points, but then both teams could easily score 7 and just completely lay an egg. So I'm not touching any team. I think the under's the play.
I think gun to my head, if I had to pick one, I would take Ohio State strictly because of you can't have anything close. Like that's kind of the argument I made all year. Like when a team's coming off a disgusting loss, you can't follow that up, especially now with Ryan Day on the hot seat and being obviously win or go home sort of thing. Obviously that applies to Tennessee too, but they've kind of accomplished a really good season, and I think Ohio State gets bounced first round and there's uproar.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. Well, that's the first round of college football playoff. It'll be done by Saturday night. And then I assume the next games are the next weekend. So we're looking forward to it around New Year's Eve.
Around New Year's Eve, I think.
Yeah, like 28th or whatever it is. So that'll be perfect. And then we're into the key bowls. There's the Rose Bowl, Fiesta, all the classics. So we're ready for it.
and it's
Can't wait.
not actually on the weekend. They're going to the next round of the playoff is. Oh
It's like the
wait, I
following
lost it.
Tuesday after Christmas or
Yeah,
something.
it's New Year's Day. New Year's Day.
Oh,
I love the schedule. I think they laid it out perfectly. I will
so it's
say,
like 10 days of rest then, I guess.
Yeah.
right, and every round has like a full 10 days, so no team's really getting screwed over by being less rested than who they're going against, which
Oh,
is
yeah,
nice.
And
so-
then New
Yeah,
Year's
so like
Eve.
we would play.
The Boise State game, the Fiesta Bowl, Chris, is going to be the 31st. So the New Year's Eve.
7:30.
Then the other three in the quarterfinals are all the New Year's Day.
Why did Boise have to get the Fiesta Bowl? They own the Fiesta Bowl. That's a
They
scary
don't
one.
actually. They are just well known for that one game.
I think
that's
they
all you need.
won another one too, but yeah,
I'm sure,
With-
but that was
with Jay
18 years
Ajayi.
ago.
We won with Saquon that year, so against
Oh, what a
Washington.
game that was!
It's true.
90-yard run
Alright.
down the sideline. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I
Now-
like the way they lay it out. I have seen the qualms from the fans though about some of the tickets are hard to buy, or some fans like Sammy here was about to take advantage of the low prices because nobody's really selling out their stadiums yet.
It's very interesting though, because aren't the prices super high for some of these games? And
The
then
Indiana one's crazy. I've seen.
But that's also an in-state rivalry.
Right.
Indiana
Yeah,
fans
they're
can go to
3
Notre
hours
Dame just as
away.
easily. Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
I just
I'm not
I-
believing
yeah.
that SMU is going to fill up half of Beaver Stadium for us.
Well,
no.
that's another reason we're at the noon game too. You got Tennessee and Ohio State. What fan bases? Those.
Right.
That's so.
No,
Yeah.
it's strange. It's also tough too. It's like definitely the thick of holiday travel, and
Right.
if any of these teams are playing in the Boca Raton Bowl, you don't expect that stadium to be filled, but you get now the playoffs are going to the home fields. It's very cool. I just want to make sure that every atmosphere is as good as it can be.
Right.
What do you guys think of the Boca Raton Bowl?
That just ended, didn't it? I think.
It did. It did.
I think James
JMU
Madison wins a close one.
Yeah, let's just take this, 27-17. I think that's how it ends.
Sharps.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
I
Let's
already
get
know
to the bowl sections. This is what the people probably want, right?
Well, and we
that-
figured we're going to be recording after the playoff games, so we figured we'll just go through the weekend, I guess, or we can go up through like Christmas, maybe the bowl games, and then we can talk about that.
Let's
So
do
that
that.
gives
There's
us
only a
roughly
handful.
like
It's like
8 bowls
7 or 8.
ish. So
Yeah.
Rapid fire. Boca Raton. We already covered it. Art of Sport.
And there was
LA
no
Bowl,
sponsor.
Kicking
There was
off
no
now.
sponsor.
Who, the Boca Raton Bowl?
Yeah.
They had roofclaim.com last year, if you'll recall. They are not
I
back
do.
for this year, so they are either out of business or they covered all the roofs.
I'm going to try and find a page that has all the sponsors on it. I don't see one though.
I'll send it to you, Sammy. I got them all going.
See, this is my favorite part. Talking about the sponsors.
There we go. But yeah, so Boca Raton just ended. The LA Bowl, which last year was the Starco Brands LA Bowl, hosted by Gronk, which is the most.
Oh, is that the
insane-
sketchy business or whatever
Was
that we were
Starco-
like?
They were the one. They were kind of like a Temu style company where they just made like crappy products that you bought online. Sam,
Oh, I got it. Here we go.
A whole bunch, yeah. Yeah, so
But now
the,
it's sponsored by Art of Sport.
yeah, which is a body and skincare product line for athletes.
That was
Which-
founded by Kobe Bryant.
Ah,
Oh,
there
wow.
you go. They must have had a bowl last year. That sounds very familiar. Or maybe Kobe also had a stake in Starco Brands.
He had a few businesses.
Of course.
I just think it's funny that it's just the actual bowl is Art of Sport hosted by Gronk.
Hosted by
That is that's
What do you guys think of the actual game?
we
Who
were
won?
talking about it.
Oh yeah, it's Cal versus UNLV.
Yeah, we were
Cal
talking about this
started as
before.
2.5 point favorite, but now it's flipped almost 100% to UNLV's side.
Yeah, and I don't know if it aligns with, but Cal's feels so weird. California's it's always Cal. Their quarterbacks hopped in the transfer portal. I forget his name, but I don't know. Maybe that has caused some of the shift. But UNLV, I think they're the better team. I don't know what the total is, but I had UNLV just to win the game and just cover.
51.5.
What is it? 51?
Yeah, and a half.
Hmm.
I'm
UNLV.
hammering UNLV money line. It
Yeah.
slipped into a weird spot, and they're now, I think, already minus 3.5. I don't love that field goal
Yeah.
hook, so I'm just gonna pay a little extra, cheer on Haj Malik Williams, and this is a classic first case of I guess not first bowl game, but first case of having a QB sit out for the opposing team, so got to kind of take advantage. But it's gone both ways. I remember last year there was a bunch of opt-outs or the guys already in the transfer portal, and their teams had a viable backup ready to go. So,
well, this is that's like the kind of situation where I think Miller Moss 2 years ago, like he debuted in a bowl game, I think it was,
last year's bowl against Louisville,
yeah, sort of just like dominated. Which
now he's heading there.
Yeah, now he's heading there.
Is he really?
Yeah, which is funny.
How about that?
Louisville.
Cool.
They're playing in SoFi Stadium, which I think is pretty cool. That's a big time venue for a not big time bowl.
Exactly.
Kind of matchup.
Two bigger teams though, so that makes sense.
They're
big-ish.
They're
big
C+ here.
I mean, it's a big state.
I mean, a classic ACC team, and then UNLV. So
I was gonna say you don't even know where UNLV is.
both could have made. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. The only one.
Sorry,
Tomorrow.
I've been reading up on R&L Carriers.
Okay, let's do it. R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. Georgia Southern versus my Sam Houston Bearcats. 4.5-ish spread is going to Georgia Southern. What do we like? Rapid fire.
R&L Carriers has had a stranglehold on this sponsorship.
They
feel like
they're a classic.
R&L. They were a carriage company founded by Ralph L. Larry Roberts. There's a lot of R's and L's, so that makes sense.
There you go.
I don't really care about the game, to be honest. But it is really
carrier.
Cool. Yeah, do you have sound effects for that, please? Boo. I'll go with your boys. Sam
to your
Houston.
point, though, Chris, it's been since 2006 R&L Carriers have the New Orleans Bowl. So
Love
I like
that.
when there's a long track record like that, even if they're some silly names.
What do they do? They're a mobile
They carry things. No, they're trucking.
Yeah, they just move. They're
shipping.
trucking.
Yeah.
Shipping.
They're 18-wheelers
Old
on the
Dominion.
road all the time.
I wonder what their LTL rate is.
What is that?
It's like a shipping thing that you need a shipping container for.
How do you know what LTL is, but you don't know what R&L is? Like you're all over.
It's pronounced thermometer.
All right. The Cure Bowl.
No, hold on. I'm taking Sam Houston State in the points.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
That's what I'm talking about. Whatever first comes to mind, let's just do that.
I'm taking Sam Houston as well.
Sam Houston as well.
Putting the house on it.
All right. Staff DNA Cure Bowl.
Ew. I don't like the name of this one.
I don't like it either. It really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Staff DNA gave me like the most like futuristic, like they're gonna steal our molecule kind of vibes. But they're just a healthcare staffing company.
They are.
They're like a monster.com for
hospitals,
like nurses and doctors. Yeah. Their website's actually very impressive. If anybody's in the healthcare space, check them out.
R.I.P. avocados from Mexico, though.
Yes, they replaced avocados from Mexico, which is the bigger problem.
And I was going to ask...
the bigger problem.
I wonder if they had like a hostile takeover and they're like, we're getting the Cure Bowl because it matches up to the healthcare vibe. Or if the avocados were just like, we're flatlining the budget. We can't afford to take the bowl again.
Well, this is in Orlando, and then who is playing? All right, not Jacksonville, not Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville State is from Alabama. Is playing.
Just learned
Ohio, and that spread. Why are not all the games in here? Oh, it's 4.5 again. They're just throwing lines here.
I like Ohio. I like Ohio here.
I like Ohio as well, especially with Rich Rod going to West Virginia.
Yep.
Oh, very good call. Yeah, they're losing their coach. Usually, when like a premier program loses their coach, they have a good backup. I don't know who Jacksonville State is rolling out as the interim. Could be a legend, but for now,
and we didn't talk about some coaching hires. Yeah, I mean some returning coaching hires like Rich Rod coming back to the glory days in Morgantown, Scott Frost doing the same thing in UCF, and then
I
of course
love those moves though. Like if you've gone to this point in your career, you fizzled out at like the big time jobs. Just go back to where you were best. It's like when an OC becomes a head coach and they immediately struggle and they're like, I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably should have stayed a coordinator.
And like, I'm all in on WVU. I think Rich Rod, he said, professionally he regrets leaving because he left a good program, and then he said personally he regrets how he left too. So I guess we'll see if he can turn around.
Those are also really the only two things you can say at your introductory press conference coming back to the school you were at. You can't be like, you know what? I made the right
Scott Frost was just like taking notes. He's like, yes, write that down. Write that down.
I think it's good for college football to get some familiar faces back. But anyway, Ohio's going to beat Jacksonville State.
All right, we got a fun one that same day. This is going to be a heck of a Friday. Starting off at noon and then going into the playoff games, but 3:30 is Tulane and Florida. I was shocked to see
what a game.
I was shocked to see Florida 2 touchdown favorites in this game.
I think it's down to 11 or 12 now. Probably 11.
Okay. Well,
but I still agree that's a large.
It total. Seems large for a team that I don't know. Florida came on. Don't get me wrong, but that seems kind of wild.
Did Tulane lose their QB or a player?
Their quarterback's been there forever.
Well, Finley's coming in there now.
Yeah, their quarterback's been there forever, so maybe he's just like opting out or something. But
Darian Mensah transferring from Tulane to Duke. He was the number 2 player in the portal.
What about? Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Union Home Mortgage, by the way, is the sponsor.
It's a mortgage company.
Their CEO, Bill Cosgrove, father of Miranda Cosgrove.
Oh, hell yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Don't spread false rumors, man.
But
I was about to get really amped up for Union Home Mortgage.
Damn.
I'm sorry.
I was going to make an iCarly joke or something.
I know. Well, I Googled it, and then she came up as well. It gave me that awful
Well, maybe
idea.
it is. You don't know that.
No, her dad's Tom.
Maybe it's like her uncle or something.
All right, there we go.
Also, Bill Cos was a tough way to start the name, and then
it came up.
So too.
Google, yeah.
Also, what does it say about us that like the most hype we got on the entire episode recording was like Miranda Cosgrove?
I know what gets the people going. I know that's what's best about this episode. We just sort of you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, there's going to be more after the after Christmas too.
Stay tuned.
We got a ways to go.
I think Florida handles them. That's my pick.
By 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, well, especially if I can get him at 12 or 13, but yes.
Is DJ Lagway playing? Because if so, maybe I could see the same thing happening, yeah.
I believe
they're getting a lot of people returning. I think they're going to crush them by like 2 or 3 touchdowns, and Florida's going to get a lot of hype going into next year.
Florida's going to be ranked like number 16 to start next season.
And then go 3-9.
Exactly. They're going to start like 1-4, and everybody's going to be like, nope. No, I agree, though. I think I may want to do a little bit of a teaser action, get that under 10. I could see them winning by 10, but 10 at the minimum. I think they do dominate the game. They're one of the teams kind of like almost an Arizona State to a much smaller level that, started out a little back and forth and then just, rocketed up the rest of the season.
What a rough way for Tulane to end the season. They lost to Memphis, Army, and then now they're 2 touchdown underdogs against Florida.
I'm pretty sure I'm on the record on this podcast, like at some point in early November, being like, Tulane has a shot at the playoff, boys.
Yeah.
And then they immediately dropped the next 2 weeks.
All right, well, 11 a.m. on Monday the 23rd, the Myrtle Beach Bowl, home game basically it probably is a home game.
I think it is on
Coastal
the
Carolina. Does this one not have a sponsor? Is my question.
They do not. Very strange.
Is it
I
just
guess
like
just
it's
the
probably
city.
like Visit Myrtle Beach or something? Yeah.
Yeah. But like, why doesn't Coastal Carolina just be like, hey, who wants to come play us? Like, do they need a committee to select this game, or is it more just kind of like, all right, Coastal, who are you trying to match up against? And they picked UTSA.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just like, oh, if you're not good enough, or not too good, but you got 6 wins, like this is your bowl type deal.
It's 100% what it is.
But yeah, I mean, let's see, UTSA is 10-point favorites.
So they didn't even pick a good team to invite. They're going to lose.
Yeah, why would they do that?
This is the place with the teal turf, though.
It is.
There you go. That's the selling point. Come on down to Myrtle Beach and watch a game on some teal turf.
Both
In
6 and
Myrtle
6.
Beach.
I would just say 10 points. Just give me the plus 10. Why not? Home game.
I was going to
Both
say,
6
take
and
the 10
6.
for the home game. Yeah, I agree. They
All
are
right.
really darn close to Myrtle Beach.
Oh yeah, the Fighting Dustin Johnsons.
Yeah.
All right, and then
This
2:30 is the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Love this
is
one.
famous.
Do they dump potatoes on coaches after this one,
They must.
Well,
or
I don't
French
think
fries or something?
I think it's French fries. They're not throwing full-blown potatoes at somebody.
What is your favorite potato?
They could launch off the potato guns.
Could you imagine just throwing russets at the coach's head? All right. Well, I was just googling things. Why are Idaho potatoes so special? Rich volcanic soil, warm days, cool nights, mountain-fed irrigation.
What?
Do you know? Oh, I'm just reading about potatoes.
We lost Chris. Anyway.
What?
Is
Well,
potatoes
I
slang?
was researching as well how long they've been the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. How long do you think it's been?
2011.
Okay. You can't be Googling it. You're
Well, I
looking
told
at
you I'm
regular
reading about potatoes.
That's a lot of potatoes.
That's a lot of potatoes.
All right, Northern Illinois, Fresno State. Let me see.
Northern Illinois 3-point favorite over under 39.5. That's shockingly low.
I think I've already put something on the over. Yeah, I have.
How have you already made a bet for Monday the 23rd?
How haven't you?
Did you get 39 or is it a different number?
I have 40, so little poor movement there, but yeah.
There's something weird about that line. I may
Is
almost
this one?
say
This one's at Boise, isn't it?
it's at Boise Stadium, correct?
Yeah.
So the Monday the 23rd is very festive with the different colored fields.
That's true.
That's
And
true.
that's Festivus, isn't it?
It is.
It is Festivus.
It'd be cool if they were like a red and a green field, but we'll take teal and blue.
All right, who do you think is the second leading producer of potatoes in the country?
I'll say
Like
something insane,
like state-wise.
Yeah, Idaho's one, obviously.
I know
South
North Carolina's
Dakota.
sweet potatoes.
Yep. Washington is 2. Wisconsin's 3.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
all right.
I guess
Cheese
that
and
makes sense.
potatoes.
You know
But,
what?
okay,
Idaho
I'm
should
picking
lean
Northern
into-
Illinois.
Idaho should lean into the vodka trade because doesn't vodka come from potatoes?
Well, I was reading more, but I don't think the people want that anymore. So
All right, let's finish up with the Chris. Your favorite place on planet Earth? Hawaii.
Lawrence, Kansas. Oh,
The Hawaii Bowl versus
The Hawaii
South
Bowl.
Florida versus San Jose State. This has to be the longest flight for any team playing a bowl game.
Oh my gosh, it does. I mean, that is a long flight.
Honolulu. That's fine.
That is a
imagine
long
if you
flight.
threw a potato from there. Go South Florida. Go Bulls. That's
Is that cheering for South Florida or?
that's my pick. That's
Isn't
my
it like
pick.
I think they're only like 3-point favorites or underdogs or something?
They're 3.5 point dogs.
Correct. I like San Jose State. This is like kind of their proxy bowl game. They seem to play in this game every year. They played the last. Well, I guess Hawaii was playing in there for a while, and it was San Diego State played in 2022. but they played back-to-back years. They lost against Coastal Carolina last season. I think they come back with a little bit of a storm. I'm taking the Spartans. Are they the Spartans or the Trojans? Spartans.
They are the Spartans.
Yeah.
They are the Spartans.
Man,
Nope.
look. Oh, sorry, you go.
No, I was going to change topics.
I was going to say, we're not going to talk about it, but looking ahead, we've got some good sponsors coming up. Game Above.
Okay.
And then we got some good ones. So
We have some good sponsors. Game Above.
Yeah.
Well, I saw Rate Bowl and I was like, that seems weird.
It's
but
the guaranteed rate bowl. They just lost the guarantee.
This housing market is brutal.
Exactly.
you just now have a rate. It's not
You have a
guaranteed.
rate. We're not guaranteeing any rate.
It's like, oh, what mortgage company to go with? Rate? No, I asked what company with
Bill
Rate.
Cosgrove is very disappointed in that.
Yeah.
I keep saying keep thinking you're gonna say Bill Cosby.
By the way, no sponsor again in the Hawaii Bowl.
But
It's
again,
probably another visit thing.
I think it's these like tropical destinations, like the.
Well, they had Easy Post last year. I don't know what that
true.
is.
I remember
but
that one.
San Jose's like, we're coming back because I'm pretty sure they played there last year.
I'm very curious, and I'd like to do a deep dive, not today, but at some point, and see how much a good matchup equals the bowl sponsor, either retaining their rights or making a huge profit from the marketing of it. Because Easy Post didn't come back, but they had a dud of a game, 24-14, Coastal over San Jose State. So
that would be a heck of an analysis.
I was gonna say nobody's tuning into that game. I wouldn't be
Good
surprised
luck
if Easy
with
Post
that
like,
analysis.
why did we just spend $2 million to get the Hawaii Bowl?
Right.
I'm just showing up to work on a Monday and be like the head of marketing and be like, hey, 24-14? Who cares? The Hawaii Bowl? What?
Stadium was.
All right, leave
How
it
about
on
this?
that note.
Ketchup and mustard in the same bottle.
That's exactly the vibe. That takes us through Christmas, and we will have to do our playoff first round recap and preview for next time.
No,
Yeah.
Coastal was in the Hawaii Bowl last year, so that's interesting.
No,
Against
San Jose State was.
Against,
Oh yeah, sorry, they played each other. You're right. So there's something weird about that part of the calendar.
Cool. Well, yeah, we're through Christmas. We'll record, preview some bowls after the playoff, so after this weekend, as well as the next round of the playoff as well. But looking forward to it. We got a heck of a slate coming up after this weekend, but this is going to be a great weekend of football. Hopefully have a personal win as well, and then have some good time off. I know I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely. Enjoy
Absolutely.
the time, everybody.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. We'll see you the next one.
And live for those Saturdays.
Yup.